Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this June 11th, 2024 meeting of the City of Gallatin Council Committee. This is a work session, as we like to call it, and I think I mentioned it is 6 o'clock and time to be called to order. As we begin this meeting, I am going to ask that we all make a commitment to treat each other with more kindness, at the very least more civility. As we move forward, I know last week was a difficult meeting for a lot of people, and I think we can do better moving forward. I would remind you all that I believe strongly, and I think many of you do too, that grace is powerful, and at some point in our lives, we all need grace, and that everyone deserves grace. So with that, I'm going to ask Ms. Kittrell to call the roll for us, please.
Vice Mayor Love is absent. Councilman Carter.
Present.
Councilman Fan.
Here.
Councilman Fennell.
Here.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
And Councilman Juvance.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. This evening before you, you have the minutes of the May 28th, 2024 Council Committee meeting for your consideration for approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Fennell, second by Councilman Juvance. Are there any additions or corrections requested? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Minutes are unanimously approved. We do have a period of public recognition. Tonight, all of the public recognition is at the front of the meeting because this is a work session. Basically, you'll have 5 minutes to speak. We ask that you give us your name and your address for the record. In fact, we require that if you're going to speak. And back to what I said a few minutes ago, to be kind and considerate, please, respectful, and do not call out individuals. But with that, public recognition is open.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Joanne Bates, 120 Hicks Lane, former teacher, so I have visuals tonight. Did you eat today? You benefited from agriculture. Do you sleep on cotton sheets or wear blue jeans? You can thank a farmer for those. Have you watched a sports game recently? You've benefited from agriculture because agriculture expertise is required to maintain the turf, and also agriculture expertise fabricated the hardwoods on the basketball court. Your fuel, your personal care products, and even that glass of beer or wine that you might be drinking, if you're over 21, you can thank a farmer for those too. Most people today are 2 to 3 generations away from farming, and they've forgotten the importance that agriculture plays in our lives. We're a farm family, and I fear that annexation of the Hicks Lane property will bring high-density housing. One more farm lost. With a simple demo that you have a picture of, I would like to show you how much agriculture land is being used on Earth. If you take an apple and let it represent our planet, let's divide it into 4 equal pieces. Take 3 of those pieces, what do you find on 3/4 of the Earth's surface? Water. So that's all the water on the planet, not just the oceans. 1/4 of the apple remains. This remains all of the Earth's land. From the standpoint of agriculture, we know we don't use all of that land for agriculture. So divide the remaining 1/4 into 3 equal parts, each piece 1/12 of our planet. One piece represents the inhospitable land. This means people can't live on it or grow food on it. Things like deserts, mountaintops, polar regions, salt flats. The remaining 2 pieces, or 2/12, represents habitable land. That means it's capable of growing food and supporting human life. But we still don't use all of that for agriculture. Of these 2 pieces, one is forests, nature reserves, developed areas like public lands, roads, cities, and houses. So that leaves 1/12 of the Earth's surface for agriculture. This land produces all the food for all the people on Earth. In reality, you really would have to peel a tiny slice of the skin of that because you have to have topsoil in order to grow food. But consider that all of the crops grown in the topsoil aren't being used in the same way. So take that tiny slice of the topsoil, divide it into equal 4 parts. So now you've only got one piece, 1/48 of the Earth's surface that grows all the food for direct human consumption. Grains, beans, fruits, vegetables, the rest is for livestock. Some of this land grows livestock feed like corn, soybeans, oats, barley, but a large portion of the land is used for grazing. Pastures where livestock eat grass and other plants. This tiny piece of topsoil, so small, but it has a vitally important job for all of us who live here on Earth. If governments continue to develop all of the farmland, what's going to eventually happen to agriculture? If you mean what you say on the website, farmers market, open seasonally, offering the best produced products, farm fresh raised meats, farm fresh eggs, all from producers, 90% that live within 30 miles of the market. Or you invite the council and everyone to the farm to the dinner table on the square. We're sharing our fabulous farmer market vendors with delicious locally sourced fare. So we're asking you, please walk the walk if you talk the talk. Leave some land free from high-density housing, from roads and development, from annexation, and provide the opportunity for parks and open air spaces and agriculture. The handout that's stapled to the Apple demo shows that Sumner County has converted 15,626 acres from agricultural, farm, and forest lands to alternative uses since 2011. 15,662 acres since 2011. Thank you very much.
Ms. Bates.
Karen Bookout, 1006 Quailwood Cove. First, I'd like to thank three folks that I met with last Friday. I appreciate your time, the time you took to meet with me. And Mayor Brown, I still can't believe we spent 2 hours in your office talking. And we talked about numerous topics, including your vision for Gallatin, such as honoring the historical character of the city. And if I understood you correctly, I'm not quoting you, you acknowledge that you would prefer not as many developments get approved. What a surprise to hear you say that in light of all that has happened in the last few weeks. We also discussed the public's perception of the city council and you personally, and I have to give you credit because you took it in stride. The public's perception is the majority of you have the best interest of developers and interests in mind when you vote. Residents think you are not listening. Speakers at the podium see you with your phones in hand or looking down and not even acknowledging us. I've personally experienced the blatant loss of interest and lack of respect when I bring up the streamside salamander or environmental concerns. And I know of at least one of you who refers to me as a salamander lady. And that's okay, I've been called worse. I've been told by council members your constituents text you during meetings. Well, your constituents would understand if you did not respond immediately while you're in a meeting. And I want to ask you this. If you were in any other type of business meeting, particularly one that might affect your bottom line, would you abruptly stop listening to respond to a text? I doubt it. I respectfully silence or turn off my phone when I walk in here. Council members should do the same. I bring all of this up to say there's an empty council seat to fill. Residents are watching closely and they are angry. Mayor, council members, you have a credibility problem. This is a seminal moment for this body, an opportunity to chart a new course, to write a new chapter, a chance to make a statement to your constituents. What will that statement be? Will you listen to your constituents' concerns and suggestions? Will you consider someone who is filing his paperwork next week to run for that very seat? Or will you put someone in that seat who has the developer's best interests in mind? I was recently told by 2 council members they have been offered money by developers. They didn't say they accepted it. You yourself, Mayor, surprisingly, told me that you've been asked by those wanting to do business with the city that they've asked you if there's anything you need. I'm not suggesting any of you have succumbed to those temptations, but now your constituents know. Your constituents now know how low developers and investors and others wanting to do business in this city will go, how far they will go to get their way in this city, to get their projects approved. And again, I'm not suggesting any of you have succumbed. How far are you willing to go to prove your constituents wrong? What are you willing to do to prove that you are serving this city with integrity? Who will you choose to fill that seat? What will you ask of them? Will you ask them where their priorities lie? And if so, I would suggest, if the first response they make is not concerns of their constituents, then you are talking to the wrong people. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Lina Merler, 1512 Cherokee Road. I want to speak tonight on the vacant council seat and the process utilized to fill this seat until the election. You often hear the word optics in political discourse. I want to share tonight and try to help you all understand the optics that we see and experience from the other side of the room. I'm doing this out of hope that it helps. I do understand that you're all here every Tuesday night and that you have many issues to discuss and decisions to make. We appreciate your service, and I've enjoyed getting to know all of you. Tonight, I want you to see another view from the other side. Maybe going forward it will help. I hope so. There's been a lot of discussion in many meetings about social media and comments made online. While I in no way excuse anyone's comments that cross a certain line, and I never engage in this myself, I do understand the frustration people are feeling. Over the year and a half I've been coming to meetings, and I've talked with many of you regarding the Green Farm. Over time, the number of people increased slowly as people became aware. More and more people spoke and they expressed their concerns. I don't remember anyone showing up in support of it. Then a few weeks before the final vote, people started showing up we had not seen before. They started speaking. First, it was the CEO of the Sumner Board of Realtors, the current president of Sumner Board of Realtors. Then it was the past president and the lead agent at Nexus. Then it was a resident of Nexus twice. Then D.R. Horton employees and the developer's employees. By the night of the vote, we had a packed room with many of them here. So here's the optic. I kind of named it the suits versus the citizens. Where were these people? That's what I want to ask. Where were they for the last 2 years? All the realtors that spoke in support of it, they're all Hendersonville realtors except one. We all know they stand to profit from it financially. Otherwise, why would they show up right before the vote and not sooner? The final straw for me, and the one that has stuck in my mind, was one of the final speakers before the vote. You may remember that a woman with red hair spoke. She said she is retired from the Air Force and her son is in the Navy, and he can't move here since he cannot replace the home he has in Pensacola with a comparable home here in Gallatin. After advocating for a couple of minutes for high-density housing and actually saying that Gallatin should grow like Murfreesboro and saying how unfair it is that everyone can't afford to buy a home here, she actually said, and I quote, "Everyone," and she gestured at the room, "that is fussing right now. They have these great lots and these nice homes. Their kids don't live here. They couldn't live here." She ended by saying that these 675 people that can't speak because they don't live here are going to thank you by you voting yes, and vote yes you did. Don't you see how this looks to everyone? It was insulting and hurtful to every single person that has shown up for 2 years, to those watching at home. Not one council member responded to this comment in support of us or to disagree with this comment. Fussing, seriously? It's not what I've been doing for 2 years. All of us. So what I want to do is I want to respond and set the record straight. Housing affordability is an issue all over the country. It's not Gallatin's fault, or it's not the fault of all of us that have farms and lots and big homes or whatever. The interest rates have doubled in the last 3 years. Inflation has skyrocketed. Inventory of homes nationwide is now up, and the sales are still sluggish. Real estate costs more in certain areas, and we're close to an it city. It's all about supply and demand. A home in Pensacola is less than it cost here. So yes, her son will have to downsize. So to come and say that we are fussing and it's unfair to those wanting to move here, I very much disagree. By the way, she opted not to mention her current profession. She, as though she failed to mention, you guessed it, a realtor. Gallatin citizens deserve to have their voices listened to and considered. When meeting after meeting, new annexations are approved overwhelmingly. In spite of public outcry, the optics are not good. Please tonight consider letting this district have input on the interim council member. Change the optics. This will go a long way to mend some fences for a district that has not been fairly represented. I know because I'm one. The only time I wrote my council member was last year. I spent two hours writing a long, well-thought-out letter with my concerns. I got 9 words back. Thank you for your thoughtful viewpoints on this issue. That was it. I did not write again. Started coming to meetings. I understand this is an emotional subject for several of you, but I would ask that you consider taking the emotions out of this process. This selection process needs to be totally transparent. The election's soon, and the final decision will be made by the people. I live in District 2, and I'd like to nominate Todd Alexander to fill the interim council member's seat. He has been here at almost every meeting, and he knows this district well. I can't think of anyone else that's shown the interest in this area that he has. This could be a really big first step towards healing our town. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joe Johnson. I live at 170 Dobbins, also own the adjoining just adjoining lot. My concerns are, and this is more of a question than anything else, I guess, or several questions. We understand that the annexation, or I understand it as such, as the annexation is the first step towards the development they plan on putting there later on. What I'd like to know is, if that development comes to realization, where will they put the infrastructure? How will they route it? We've already got 1,350 houses, or somewhere around in that neighborhood that I've been told, at Nexus going in. That's approximately 2,700 vehicles at the national standard. If we add another 200 or so houses, or almost 300 houses on the Hicks Lane property down the road, that's going to be another 400 to 600 cars. Where is this traffic going to go? Dobbins Pike is already almost impassable. At times, it takes me 15 minutes to get out of my driveway. What will it do to our recent double property appraisals or assessments? How many stop signs or stop lights have been added in the last 2 years to Gallatin? The traffic is terrible, and it's becoming worse every day. I'm old, and it's hard for me as a senior citizen to fight the traffic. I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned for the wildlife in the area. We keep taking up all our country property and putting houses on it. There's going to be no place for the wildlife to go. There's already been numerous emails and stuff put out about animals coming in people's yards and what have you. I don't know if that's just in Gallatin or nationwide, but it's a problem I see. Will it affect our taxes, the annexation? Will that affect our taxes as residents that have already been there? Those are just some concerns that I have, and I'd appreciate your thinking about not annexing this property for housing. Thank you so very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening, I'd invite you to come forward.
Evening, Council. I'm Bill McCord, 921 Belvedere Drive. I'm here to acknowledge Eileen George as a former council member and thank her and appreciate her actions on the city council. ran for that office at request. She brought her many years of knowledge to the city and was very open to understanding how the city will grow and can grow, including in participation in our comprehensive plan. She served on the Planning Commission and also attended many educational sessions that would sharpen her skills and allow her to be effective in that position, both as Planning Commissioner and City Council. It's very disheartening as a former employee of the city to realize that there is a crack in the city, and we've seen this nationwide, and now we see it at the council. Gallatin and the Nashville area is going to continue to grow. I think Eileen realized that, and she did her best to accommodate that within the confines of the adopted policy, both through the city's code and its comprehensive plan. I thank her very much for that, and appreciate the work that y'all do. Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening. I'm Lori Smiley. I live at 2851 Green Grove Road in Hartsville, Tennessee. And although I no longer work for the city or live within its boundaries, the love and commitment I feel for the city after serving it for 8 years has compelled me to return and voice my heartache and disgust regarding what is happening in and to the city and county as a whole. The resignation of Councilwoman George was especially heartbreaking for me, as she was always supportive, kind-hearted, open to hearing ideas, and brilliant in many ways. She was one of the good ones, as you are too, Mayor, and most of the others up there. You're facing a troubling situation where a small but vocal group is disrupting the harmony and progress of our community. Their tactics of bullying, harassment, and spreading misinformation are not only harmful, but also counterproductive to building a better city and county for everyone. This small group claims to act in the best interest of all citizens, yet their actions speak otherwise. They promote division and negativity, targeting those who do not align with their views, including you dedicated council members and the mayor. The recent resignation of Councilwoman George, a realtor who has served with integrity and passion, is a direct result of the relentless harassment and false accusations. She chose to step down for the sake of her personal and mental well-being, highlighting the severity of the toxic environment being created, and who can blame her? Accusations of conflicts of interest and ethical violations have been used as tools to discredit and intimidate. However, there are a couple of points that I think have been overlooked. First, the email in question was public record under the State of Tennessee Public Information Act. And Lord knows there are those in the accusing group that should be intimately aware of that, given the frequency of exercising their right to emails under that law. A huge time suck, by the way, and tremendous waste of government resources and taxpayer money used to fund fishing expeditions, but it is the law and they do have the right. Second, to say a council person passing along public information to any group of people is a conflict of interest is ridiculous. It is their job. They say because she's a realtor and she passed it on to a group in favor of development makes it a conflict. Following that logic, anyone that has ever served on city council and owned a business or even worked for a business in the city of Gallatin and has supported a development is in conflict. For just as Councilwoman George might sell a house in one of those developments one day, so might the new residents frequent the business owned by the council member, and therefore they might see a financial gain. So, that kind of logic would seriously impact the pool of candidates for an elected office. Not to mention applying that logic to boards and committees, one could construe that a professional pilot being on the airport authority is also a conflict. This small group's justification of their behavior as, quote, accountability is a gross misrepresentation of what true accountability should be. Bullying, harassment, misinformation are not tools for holding officials accountable. They are tools of manipulation and division, and ones that are being extensively used both in the city and the county. During my tenure, I witnessed the amazing character of most of the people who live here. I respected those elected officials who made decisions based on thorough research, experience, and genuine concern for our city's well-being. Disagreements are natural, and disagreements happened, but they should never lead to public bashing or disrespect. My moral compass has always guided me to engage constructively, even when opinions differed. Councilwoman George exemplified the kind of leadership we need: supportive, collaborative, open-minded, and dedicated to serving with love and passion. To those who are aligning themselves with this divisive group, I urge you to reflect on the impact of your actions. The city and county need unity and constructive solutions, not division and animosity. You all have to work together to address the challenges with integrity, respect, and a genuine desire for the common good, not for a self-serving, ego-feeding personal agenda. It is heartbreaking to see the efforts of dedicated individuals being undermined by a few vocal dissenters. You must not allow their negative influence to destroy the good that has been and is being built. In conclusion, I ask all of you to rise above the negativity, focus on what truly matters: the progress and well-being of this wonderful city and county. Reject the tactics of bullying and misinformation of this small group and embrace a spirit of collaboration and respect. Together, I know the good people of Gallatin can build a brighter future for the city, and I pray those of the county can find a way as well. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is John Pereira, and I live at 1490 Cherokee Road here in Gallatin, and have all my life. I love my hometown, and that's why my wife and I decided to stay here and raise our family on the land where I grew up. We started a nursery and landscaping business on the family farm. Now, one of my most important duties at work is to interview a lot of job applicants, some of whom are coming from out of state and considering making a move to this area. If they ask me what is so special about Gallatin, then they're in for a long interview, because I won't stop talking. I pull out this book and I share it with them. It's the edition of Reader's Digest naming Gallatin as the nicest place in America. I explained to them that it's not so much that Gallatin has nicer parks and amenities than other cities, or even better entertainment establishments and venues. What makes Gallatin unique, to me at least, are the people and the sense of community that we have here. This town has a sense of place that is hard to describe in words. Personally, I believe the old slogan, "Gracious and growing Gallatin," was very descriptive. The Gallatin that I love is a place where people are civil to one another, and they tend to believe the best in other people. They give people the benefit of the doubt and are able to debate issues without allowing it to become personal. It's essential that they do so because they worship together on Sundays and they cheer for the same ball team the other nights of the week. That's why I felt compelled to come speak here tonight after I witnessed the resignation of my friend Eileen George, whom I believe to be a person of high character, a person who has committed herself to serving our community for the past several years. Despite the fact that she and I disagreed on several major issues in planning, I never once had cause to question her integrity or her motivations. She made decisions based on what she genuinely believed to be the best course of action for the city as a whole. I believe her perspective was largely based on her experience as a realtor. I respect that. I was deeply troubled to see that some people in our community, people who probably have not had the chance to meet her personally, made some unfair assumptions and allegations about her on social media based on the fact that they disagreed with her. I found those attacks on social media to be shameful and repugnant. Now, I have served on the Gallatin Planning Commission for a little over 20 years. It would be an understatement to say that we have seen a lot of change in that time period. Change can be as uncomfortable as it is inevitable, especially to a person like me who doesn't particularly embrace change. The visible changes that we see with the eye can be alarming and frightening to people. I understand those feelings and even sympathize with them to some degree. But the change that truly frightens me is not the change you can see with the eyes. It's the change to the social fabric. It is the erosion of our sense of community as a result of how we treat one another on social media and other venues. Preserving the outward aesthetic elements of the community is like preserving the body, visible to the eye. And that is certainly important. But if we fail to preserve the intangible sense of community, which makes us unique, then we have gained nothing and we've lost everything. For if you preserve the body but lose the soul, well, I don't know exactly what hell looks like, and I hope I never find out. But for all I know, it may have beautiful scenery and grand vistas as far as the eye can see. However, I have no doubt that it is a miserable place to be because people are estranged from one another by great distances of their own making. Although I'm pretty sure it does offer free, unlimited access to social media there. Do you remember the 2008 presidential debate in Lakeville, Minnesota between Senator John McCain and Barack Obama? One lady expressed her sincere fear that Obama could not be trusted and that he was an Arab. Senator McCain grabbed the microphone and said, "No, ma'am. He's a decent family man and citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues," and that's what this campaign is all about. I believe that John McCain chose to be a true leader in that moment, rather than capitalize on a political opportunity based on fear. I gained tremendous respect for him in that moment because I understand that it is much more difficult to challenge the disruptive negative comments of those who agree with you than it is to challenge the disruptive negative statements of those who oppose you. Now, political opportunists would argue that John McCain lost that campaign and he squandered an opportunity in that moment. I would argue that he accomplished something great in that moment and reminded us all of the importance of mutual respect and the need to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. I'm asking each of you, the members of the Gallatin City Council, to be leaders in our community. Lead by example and have the courage to challenge those who use social media in a destructive manner, regardless of whether they are for or against the position you support. Throughout history, it has been proven time and time again that people follow the examples set by leaders. That leadership can either be positive and productive or negative and destructive. Decide what type of leader you wish to be and follow the courage of your convictions no matter the personal cost. Thank you for letting me speak.
Mr. Pereira. Full disclosure, I did extend his time a wee bit at the end because he was wrapping up and I could tell, so.
Thank you, Mayor. You're not going to extend mine. I'm not going to be here long, but Council, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to let everybody speak tonight. I wasn't going to say anything. I've had the privilege to serve on this council for Jimmy Overton, 901 Lakeview Court, Gallatin, Tennessee. I had the privilege to serve on this council for a long time. I've had many, many disagreements with several members on this council. But with those disagreements, and not just the ones that are here now, but the others that's been on this council, but I had great respect for you. I had great respect for your families, for you, for everybody. Did we always agree? Absolutely not. We had many disagreements. I've had disagreements with the mayor that's currently serving. I've had disagreements with every council person on here. But guess what? I respect you, and I respect the job that you do, and I still do that today. I respect each and every one of you. Today, and the only reason I'm here to speak is today, I get phone calls from several city employees that said they got an email today from a council person that's is part of this investigation with Ms. George, or this resignation of Ms. George. And today, they say this councilperson wants to be a victim in this situation. And ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to be the person and the council person and the leader that you are. If you disagree with one of them, and they might think that you disagree with them, be a man and be a lady to stand up and say, I'm sorry that we disagree, and let it be over with. But don't attack them. Don't attack them personally. Don't send it out to every city employee. Don't send it out to the newspaper and the news medias and call them on the phone. That's not what you're here for. You're here to represent the city of Gallatin, and I respect you for doing that. And thank you all, everyone that's on this city council. Thank you for the job that you do and the stuff that you put up with, and also the good that you do for our city. Everyone on here, and I know for a fact how many phone calls you get and how many opportunities you have to help somebody. When you get up every single morning, when you get up, you should get up for one reason. That's to help somebody make a better day for themselves. And I appreciate you all for doing that. But with this that's happened last week, it's just a sad day in the city of Gallatin. Thank you.
Bishop A. Michael Clark, Albert Michael Clark, 923 South Westland Avenue here in Gallatin, Tennessee. Won't be before you long. Once again, have heard different things about Miss Eileen, who, after my mother passed away 7.5 years ago, I started calling Mom. Started reflecting on some things, of course, this past week, and I came from the ghettos of Brooklyn, New York, 44.5 years ago. My mother, we came here by way of Miss Eileen, and we lived in Silverwood Apartments, and 9 months or so after we moved here, my mother was able to build a house. And first 2 or 3 jobs that I had was working for Miss Eileen. Well, when I reflect back then, I was making about $200 a week as a teenager, and sometimes I wish I could go back to those days. But this is not so much about talking about Miss Eileen. Once again, it does disturb me, and I've been coming to these meetings longer than you all have been on the council, for over 20-something years. And the majority of the people have always had the heart and the representation and spirit of Gallatin. Also, when you've hired people that from different states and parts of the country, they came in and they acclimated to the spirit and mindset of Gallatin, Tennessee. And when I hear over and over again now that these meetings come against different people and your character and your integrity, and think that you have personal interests, or somebody might have offered you monies or you might be taking some type of bribe, it's very disturbing. Many of you, if not all of you, I've touched base with you over and over and over again, personally, out in the grocery stores and everything. And the people of Gallatin here have been very approachable. Yes, we do have our issues. Yes, we do have some kinks. Matter of fact, and I'm not here to be on television, I used to be a part of worldwide television, where I preached the gospel of Jesus Christ and hosted for over 15 years. So I don't need the media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and that's more than enough for me. But I encourage us, as the late Rodney King used to say, can we all just get along? Good day.
Hey, is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Okay, seeing no one, public recognition is closed. I do want to follow up 2 things following public recognition. One, Mr. Johnson, you had some questions. If they are not addressed fully when the item is discussed, and some of them frankly cannot be, but if they are not, you may follow up with our city planner or someone in that department in the days ahead, and they can help you with your questions. Also do want to clarify something that Ms. Bookout said. We did speak last week, and I have to defend the comment, because she said she wasn't quoting me, but I don't want anything mischaracterized. I have never been offered anything untoward by anyone in this city. And I jokingly said, people say, is there anything I can do? But, that can mean so many things, and maybe it's a code word that I don't know, but I don't think anyone intends it that way. I think, by and large, the people that we interact with are of high principle and high integrity, and I don't want anyone to think that I think that. I am a bit concerned about the other part she said about others being offered money, but I hope that was a long, long, long time ago, because in my years, that's certainly not been the case. With that, I'll move forward to mayor's comments. I do want to share with this council that I have very sad news. Councilman Carter passed on to me that Mr. Bill Ligon passed away, and if you've been around Gallatin any length of time, you know who he is, and a lot of the legacy of our city. And so he will be missed, even though I didn't get to see him very often. I really always enjoyed my opportunity to speak with him and hear his stories of the past. And I know he has some good friends who will miss him as well. I also want to mention that Mr. Bill Jellison is retiring from the building department. This Friday will be his last day. He's not been here a terribly long period of time, but he's certainly done a lot of great work for the city, and I do appreciate that. Want to tell you that this past weekend, the Colonel Jethro Sumner chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution did a sort of they had a ceremony, but they also showed a virtual where they could actually physically mark the grave of a Revolutionary War patriot, a female by the name of Anne Motherwell Greer. And so that was kind of a neat event. And then finally, I'm going to mention that Mark Kimball, the general manager at Gallatin Department of Electricity, has been recognized by the American Public Power Association with the Mark Chisholm Leadership and Managerial Excellence Award. I believe there were 18 awards given out nationally, and he was the recipient of one of them. And so we are certainly proud of that recognition. A few events coming up. On the 14th, it is Flag Day. The Kids Summer Movie Series happens at the Palace Theater. It's how do I say it again, Stephen? Encanto. And this Saturday is Market Day at the Gallatin Farmers Market. That's from 9 until 1. Also, the Gallatin Fashion Crawl is happening this weekend, and that is from 10 till 5 on Saturday. On Sunday, the Juneteenth Community Festival will be happening at 536 Bly Avenue. That's from 4 until 8 p.m. Next week is the public kickoff for the Gallatin Zoning Code update process. That will be here in Council Chambers, and that's at 6 p.m. On the 18th, the Sumner County American Job Center Career Fair is happening. That's over on Greenlee Boulevard, and that's from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. The 19th, most city offices will be closed in observation in observance of Juneteenth. Next week is also the first third Thursday of the season. I'm very excited that Clint Park and Band will be performing, a local favorite. If you've not heard them before, you really should make an effort to be there, because they will do a great job and is well loved by a lot of Gallatin residents. And then next Saturday at the Farmers Market is something that I just want to personally attest to. That is the Bee Day at the Gallatin Farmers Market, which really didn't pique my interest. I just happened to be there one year and saw what all they were doing to educate young and old about bees, how they help our environment, and the things that they are doing to utilize their product, but also support them in our gardens and homes and fields. So I would encourage you to take your kids to go to the Bee Day at the Gallatin Farmers Market on the 22nd. Finally, I'll mention that on the 28th of this month, it's another Good Morning Gallatin. This month, Trey Hargett, the Tennessee Secretary of State, will be speaking, and we will look forward to that. So I believe that concludes my comments, and it's going to move us now to the regular agenda. And the first item is the discussion of soccer field lights at Triple Creek Park. For the public's information, this was discussed last year. It was supposed to come on a future work session, I believe, and it kind of slipped through the cracks, Mr. Brown. And
Give you the background.
oh, okay, go right ahead. Certainly.
This was discussed at the December 12th meeting, and it was a vote of 5-2 not to proceed with lighting the fields. But also at that meeting, there was a motion to send it to the next committee meeting of 7-0 for the January 9th. It did not get on the January 9th committee meeting. So now That's why it's on this meeting, because it was asked to be put on another committee meeting for more discussion or whatever, so that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. So
That's why we're
the
here.
opportunity is here for this council to discuss further, should you desire.
I guess the question is, what were we going to discuss on it? I mean, because, you know, I thought it was decided that we were not going to pursue that, correct?
Correct,
Voted on that
correct.
because of things that were said when we first, you know, did the park with those landowners that lived there, you know, all that. Because I was on the council at that time. I think the only one that was here that was on the council, but I specifically remember that. So I don't see why we're bringing this back up again.
I think the reason it's brought back up is because it was voted on that night to send it back to the meeting. It was, I can read you the minutes if you'd like. Councilman Fennell made motion to place this item on the January 9, 2024 work session agenda. Councilman Javon second, motion carried 7-0. So that's,
Sounds like Councilman Fennell can answer the question.
so that's why it's back.
I thought we was discussing about other location that we could light a field at that wouldn't bother the residents on Grandview. I know that Saturday, couple of us is out talking to some neighbors in the area, campaigning, and several people in that area brought up that issue. And then you got the people on the other side that play soccer, which is actually one of my grandson, and talking about lighting the fields up. I'd like to see it done, but I'm not so sure that's the location, and that's where that conversation was headed.
Councilman Javons?
Thank you, Mayor. The problem is that the soccer population is growing so much that we need to do something about it. I know we're looking at getting land and building something, but how long is it going to take? Even if we're buying land today, that's going to take, 3 years or something to get built. So I don't think we can or should ignore these people, and even if we put restriction on it, temporary and restriction and on time, and it's not the lights now are not like they were 20 years ago. They're really they're really good. They're really oriented, and there's nothing that on a baseball field. It's good. It's not like that's going to impact them. I would think they will be more impacted by noise, maybe, but we have noise ordinance, and I'm pretty sure we can work something with the soccer people to make sure, after a certain time that they stop. But the question again is that where are they going?
What about the fields, the baseball fields that we never did quite develop all the way over in Triple Creek?
They've been approved in the budget to light this year.
Is that something that we can make it a dual-purpose field where we can use for baseball and soccer, or are they butting heads at the same time?
They'll butt heads, and they're going to have the terms at the same time. My recommendation is we're working on buying some land now, and instead of lighting these fields, that really you can make a modified legal field for these tournaments, but it wouldn't be the legal size. So I'd rather wait, and my recommendation, professional recommendation is to light the fields that will be regulations sizes when we do it. Now, of course, it's going to be this fall before we know if we're going to get to the land or whatever, and then it'll take a little time to develop it. Now, the lights, they are a year and a half out probably anyway, even if you approve lights for these fields. They are so far backed up. We ordered lights last fall, and they may be here this August, maybe July.
Let me ask you one more question. The field area that's by the Civic Center to the right, that at one time we said we was going to disc it and try to level it out so that we could have some of the flag football activity and stuff like that over there. Did we get that done?
Yes, that's where they play their league games at. One league plays there, one league plays at Triple Creek.
Do we have enough land right there to turn? We don't.
And then you got the same conflict as you have there is you got football and soccer, and it's, basically at the same time. So additional land is the key, and then, of course, lighting the fields.
Okay. That was a conversation that I was wanting to have.
I say we go with David's recommendation then,
Okay.
see what pans out coming up on this land.
Thank you, David.
We need a recommendation to kill this ideal period.
We just gave him, that's what we.
Indefinite.
Okay.
And then, I'm not saying in 10 years it might come back up again or whatever, but as of right now, I would not recommend lighting those fields. I don't think it would serve the purpose that we really are trying to get.
Hopefully, we are going to have some really good opportunity in the short term ahead. So,
I'm sorry?
I said, hopefully, we are going to have some really good opportunity in the short term. So,
Expensive, but an opportunity.
everything's a cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Okay, item number 2 is purged bad debt for fiscal year 2024 for utilities. David Kellogg, our public utilities superintendent, I'm going to steal your lead and tell you this is the lowest request in a decade. So,
Thank you, Mayor Brown. This is our annual presentation to the council for our accounts to be written off for bad debt. There are 353 total accounts. It's $69,422.12. Average is a little less than $200, and it is the lowest dollar amount that has been in the last 10 years.
we have a small victory, y'all.
What was we at last year? Does anybody roughly remember? Just curious.
Probably a few thousand more.
Last year was $70,777.28. It's been as high as $121,000 in 2017.
There's a marked difference, especially considering the growth in the area. Yes.
Motion to send it on.
Wait, we don't
It's
need-
just presentation.
Just presentation. I apologize. I misspoke, Councilman Hayes, so thank you. Thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions I didn't ask? Okay. All right. Item 3, Resolution R2406-51, a resolution of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, adopting a plan of services for the annexation of a 77.55-acre parcel located north of Hicks Lane, east of Dobbins Pike, and providing for an effective date. City Planner Brian Rose is recognized.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So this is a proposal to annex a 77.5 acre plus or minus acre parcel north of Hicks Lane and east of Dobbins Pike. Just for reference, here is Hicks Lane and here is Dobbins Pike. The parcel is the one that's outlined in yellow on the map. The properties are currently zoned rural residential in the county. On March 5th, 2024, the City Council authorized the applicant to submit the petition for the annexation of the property. There's currently no proposal for development of the property, so that answers one of the questions that was brought up earlier. The applicant simply wishes to be able to take advantage of city services and regulations at this time. They have subsequently, since the council authorized the applicant to submit, they have submitted their application for the annexation. And on May 20th, the Gallatin Planning Commission recommended approval of this annexation and plan of services by a vote of 6-0. Since 2015, annexations have been required to be by property owner request or by referendum. The property owner did make this request, so that falls in line with our regulations there. They must, with very few exceptions, be within our urban growth boundary. This property is adjacent to current city limits, which the current city limits are along the eastern boundary right here, which is Triple Creek Park. The property is vacant and completely within our urban growth boundary. Roadways are not included in the legal description of the property to be annexed. And upon annexation finalization, the city council can consider the appropriate rezoning of the land. Municipalities typically consider annexation for the following reasons: to ensure the orderly future growth of the city and its surrounding areas, to ensure unified planning and zoning regulations and enforcement consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and UGB plan, to protect or enhance the current and future municipal tax base, to increase the size and population of the community, to distribute the cost of providing municipal services more equitably, and to facilitate the long-range planning for the provision of those services. Lastly, to coordinate municipal services. The annexation proposal has a plan of services, which has been submitted to you tonight as well. That establishes the services that would be provided and delivered to the project once the property has been annexed. This includes public utilities, electric service, recreational facilities and programs, public works, solid waste collection, street construction and repair, vehicle maintenance, street lighting, planning and zoning services, building and codes administration, police and fire protection services, stormwater services, etc. According to a review by the different departments, services would be able to be provided to this property. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
This is for item 3, resolution R2406-51, of course. Yeah, we're also just, I think your comments also apply to item 4, which is resolution R2406.
Correct.
Which is the resolution actually annexing the property and to be indicated on the official zoning atlas, assigning the area to a council district, repealing conflicting ordinances, and providing for a severability date. So just to be clear before we begin any discussion that you may wish to have.
Brian, you said there's no plan right now, right? They don't have anything, just
That's correct.
annexation? Okay. All right. Motion to send them home.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Hayes, a second by Councilman Carter for items 3 and 4, resolutions R2406-51 and 52. Comments, Mr. Javance?
Thank you, Mayor. I think that came already before that council and got turned down because there was a plan on it. So a plan will probably come back, but I just want to, there's stuff I don't understand what got said, that they say they want to annex because they want to enjoy city services, but the land is empty. And I read the report, they say the water is not there, sewer is not there, they're gonna have to be bring. So I don't understand personally, I wouldn't, if I had nothing on the land and I was not planning on doing anything with it, I would not try to go in a city to pay more taxes. I don't want to pay more taxes. And another thing I see, if we annex that property, what we're going to do with the one who's just right there, I mean, we're going to create a donut hole on that, because that piece of land was 16 acres, something like that, not going to be in a city. So all I heard all these years is that we're trying not to create donut hole when we were annexing property, but we're going to do that. So I don't think we should annex right now if there is no plan. What the point? Just, and we're going to create a donut hole right there where we're not supposed to. So I will be voting no for that.
To me, I mean, you all have heard me say this related to various things, but since the laws changed on annexation, I've been open to annexations by the city largely because what you mentioned is one of the reasons, to ensure orderly development in the future. And that's why I think it's good to take an opportunity. We know from a past look at this property that it's going to be very, very challenging for it to be developed. And so, you know, if a development were to come forward at some point in the future, then there would have to be a lot of solutions created, so.
I love his proximity to Triple Creek, and prayerfully one day that will be the city's and we could extend to Triple Creek Park.
I wasn't going to say that. Okay, anyone else with any comments, discussion?
If that was the case, I would not have a problem to annex it. If it was an extension of Triple Creek, I would be all for it.
Oh, we'd all be excited, right? Yeah.
But that's probably not going to be the case, and like you said, that's going to be a lot of work to do something in there, so I don't see what the point of annexing it right now.
We have a motion and a second to move forward resolutions R2406-51 and 52 to council. Will all in favor please say aye?
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
It passes 4-1. So we move forward to council. And then item number 5 is resolution R2406-53, a resolution to revise the employee pay plans and updated job descriptions. Courtney Kanjimi, our HR director.
Evening, Mayor and Council. So with the resolution, we're 2 exhibits. One is the updated pay scale, 4 different pay scales that were updated based on budgetary approval. And then there is Exhibit B that includes all of the positions that were presented during the budget process, that were approved, not the ones that were ultimately taken out of that.
When you say updated, explain a little bit, what do you mean?
So it may be that it was a new position, so Codes Administrator 5, the Admin Assistant 5, instead of it was an Admin Assistant 3. Any ones that had a title change, a grade change, any kind of material change to the information in the job description and or new job descriptions, so positions that we didn't have previously. So encompasses all of that, but all of those descriptions come before the council.
Motion to send it on.
Okay, a motion by Councilman Carter,
Second.
second by Councilman Fan. Now we are open for any discussion. Councilman Jubans.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of questions. On the, I don't think I got a real answer on the change of rate for your job and the planner. What is the idea behind? Because we spend a lot of money getting a consultant to give us all these rates, and now we're gonna change two direction position to a higher rate so I'm trying to understand why.
So that is not for me to discuss necessarily. This is just reflecting what was approved during that budgetary process.
And I do feel like we discussed that during the process, and it was brought up, I think, by you when we went through all the budget discussion. I believe that, you know, certain things change, and we've made adjustments every single year where different people have brought to me concerns that they've had, and I've either supported them or not supported them, asked the council to either support or not support. Some things have happened, some things have not. So, I mean, I remember many years ago a different department head being moved because for lots of reasons over a long period of time. But I think that the situation here was that we had 2 department heads that were classified in the same, I always mess this up, in the same grade as some assistants. And, you know, when you're a department head, well, for one thing, you're here every Tuesday night, but other responsibilities that I feel that they must bear that should set them apart to some degree.
Oh, yeah, I understand that, but if we go on the fair side, if I look at the classification, the EDA director is classified below assistant 2, so why we didn't at that point, level everybody else at the same level.
I think you brought up the EDA director, which is a whole nother thing because that's under the purview of the EDA board. So, I mean, I think we could talk about a lot of specifics, and certainly I don't have the materials here to be in tune with every answer you may seek, so.
Thank you. And on the list of reclassification, I see almost everything except the park. There was an ask for reclassification on the park, and I still would like to see that on the list because I don't see.
Sorry.
So he doesn't see the reclassification that was requested for the parks groundskeeper to groundskeeper chemical specialist. That was not approved during the budgetary process. Again, this resolution specifically speaks to what was approved during that budgetary process. It's literally just the adjustment mathematically and then updated job descriptions that were already approved by the body.
To give you background on that specific one, because I do recall it, is that Mr. Brown and I have disagreement on what level employees should be responsible for the chemicals associated with treating. So I think it should be a supervisor position. I mean, but we're also, this is something that he's wanting to do in the months ahead, so I'm not saying that's forever off the table. It just was not something at the time that we had kind of settled. And no one here pushed that, so that's what got approved in the budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion and a second to move forward Resolution R2406-53, which is the resolution to revise the employee pay plans and updated job descriptions. So all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. You were very quiet. 5-0, it moves forward to council. Item 6 is amended ordinance 02405-26. Ms. Nichols, our finance director.
I apologize that we need to amend an ordinance, but after last week's meeting, we took a really close look at some accounts, and they're going to be closer than I'm comfortable with for year end, and we would like to make some adjustments to add a little bit more money to these 3 departments in addition to the police and fire training supplements that has already been presented to you. We would add $20,000 to the vehicle maintenance budget, and then in the water sewer department or water sewer fund, we would add $400,000 to the water treatment plant and $50,000 to customer accounting and collections. We've had really good interest earnings this year, so there's ample room to make the budget amendment to increase interest earnings that would offset these, so they're not hitting the fund balance at all, but these budgets are kind of tight to get through the next 2 weeks before the fiscal year end, and this would be our last opportunity to amend the budget. So I'm requesting these 3 be added to the salary supplement resolution, ordinance.
Motion to send on.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilman Juvons.
Second.
Second by Councilman Carter. Are there any questions, any discussion? Okay. All in favor of moving forward amended ordinance 02405-26, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Does pass unanimously.
Thank you. The ordinance that will be in the packet will be the one you voted on last week, but this will be on your desk to amend.
Okay, so we will need to add the amendment next week. Okay, very good. Item number 7, we're getting to some items that I placed on the agenda. This is a discussion on the special census. I asked Ms. Bates to weigh in with me on it. Some of you know that in 2015, when we did a special census, that Ms. Bates was pretty much the coordinator of that. We had a champion volunteer and Councilmember Ed Mayberry. I'm going to reach out to him, see if he wants to return to duty for that. Just kidding. Don't feel that pressure unless you feel so led, former council member Mayberry. But I do feel at this point it is time to move forward with creating the process for a special census. My goal would be to start that special census in August and have the numbers ready to present to the state by the deadline to update our numbers on before March 1st of 2025. I was frankly feeling, well, overwhelmed with so many things that need to get done and other distractions that have taken a lot of my time and energy. But Ms. Bates had sent to me an article about the city of Lebanon, and they actually have been successful. And so I was really glad to see that, because I had had some other conversations with some other cities who had not been successful. And so, knowing what our bandwidth was internally, I had, the U.S. Census will do a special census for a community, but I did not have a lot of, frankly here, I did not have a lot of confidence. I felt like we were undercounted in 2020. And if you hire the census to conduct a special census for you, they make you no guarantees. So in theory, they could come into our community, they could work, they charge us based on our population, and they could give us a smaller number than what we had before. So I feel better. I was hoping that there would be some, third party that would offer their services to execute a special census for us. But I've made lots of inquiries and not finding anyone that I feel can do better than what we can potentially do in-house. So following up on the article about Lebanon last week, I reached out to Mayor Bell. He connected me and Ms. Bates with a couple of their key coordinators in Lebanon. They did a lot of things like we did years ago. They did some things that were not available years ago when we did one. And we both are pretty enthusiastic at this point. We even think we can use some of their talent, because they hired some temporary employees, some seasonal employees to conduct the work, one of whom was actually experienced with the federal census, and a few others who are now experienced with doing a special census. And so I just want to let this council know that this is the plan, unless anyone has any objection. It is in the budget. We're going to move forward with figuring out how to do this thing and make it happen, because realize the number that we get per person with all the shared taxes and everything that come in each year is, I think, like $179 is the estimate for next year. It's going to vary a little bit, but $179 per person annually can make quite a difference. And we were very successful in 2015 when we did it. We increased the revenue. It kept the city of Gallatin from having to raise taxes during that period of time. And this would help, I think, bolster our revenue without the impact being on the taxpayers. Ms. Bates, I would ask if there's anything that you want to add to all the rambling I just spit out there.
I would like to add that what was very nice about talking to the folks in Lebanon is they were very generous with their experience, willing to share information, willing to help us do it and learn from what may not have gone so well for them, but what went exceptionally well for them. There is improved technology now, which I think will make it easier. It did involve going door to door, and I think, to the mayor's point, even if we can increase our population by just 2,000 for the effort, you're still getting that much more money every year until the 2030 census is ultimately certified. I certainly think that we'll do better than that. As she said, we were seriously undercounted in 2020. We are not the only one.
It happened during COVID, I would remind everyone.
Yes. And there just was not, yes, it was a bad time. So I agree that we can do it. We have an opportunity to possibly contract with two of the people who did the Lebanon or worked on the Lebanon census. So really it would just take some minor supervision by someone here to just check in with them every now and then and make sure everything was going. Just communicate, not even physically see them every day, but just communicate on a daily basis about how things are going. The biggest part is informing the community ahead of time. We were successful last time. I think we can be successful again this time. Primarily because you are promoting it as, if you answer these questions and all you're giving is the first name and the last name of the people in the home at the time you get the someone knocks on your door or you get the QR code to answer. It's not very invasive at all. There are people who are not going to answer. They just are not. They don't in the regular census. But I think we can be very successful. And I think the approach is that we actually are doing this to save you, to bring more money into the city so that we don't have to contemplate any sort of increase in taxation.
And that we can do more
property
good
tax.
things, like buy
Yes.
soccer field land.
Yes, yes. Especially at 170-something per capita, when you increase it, so. Happy to answer any questions about
And I
any of
think
this.
Councilman Juvance has a question.
Thank you, Mayor. Did the team in Lebanon give you an idea of what that did cost them to do the census?
They have spent around $400,000 now. We found it we both found it interesting that they've stopped their census.
Yeah, that
they
was
stopped it
interesting, yeah.
based on their budget, I believe. And so they felt like they could have gone further, but they're realizing a substantial gain, and so I feel like we certainly
It
can
was
as
$1
well.
million a year, I believe. So they just said, hey.
That's good.
We're going to take our chances, we're going to stop here, and then they're trying to get it certified. The only good advice, well, not the only, but the good advice they gave us is if we can get it certified by March 1st, then we'll get that increased shared
Starting next
taxes
year.
in the July 1st fiscal year.
25, 26.
Fiscal year. So, in the 26th fiscal year, yeah. But starting in July of next year, 25. Did you have any other questions?
No? Thank you.
Now, for y'all's information, we did budget a larger number than that, but I budgeted based on trying to, potentially hire an outside firm, but I just don't think that that is the path to success for us. So we should come in under budget on that, based on what Lebanon has done, and they are a bit smaller than us, but, so with your blessing, we're going to get organized and get going. All right. Item 8, this is a sales tax referendum discussion. I mentioned this to you all some time ago. This was something the city of Hendersonville has done. Some other cities have done. There's discussion at the county about it. I just want to put it out there to you all, largely because this is an election year, and we would never want to have a special election for this because that would cost our taxpayers money. But if we were interested in asking for a sales tax referendum, we have to notify the Election Commission by August 15th of this year. We have to have passed it on 2 readings. The language has to get to them, and it has to go on the agenda for that period of time. One of the interesting things that I've seen Hendersonville do is they've made it specifically for something that matters a lot to citizens, which is public safety and parks and recreation. They also, I believe, I honestly haven't spent a lot of time with Mayor Clary talking about it, but they did kind of a public marketing campaign to support it, because sales tax versus property tax, sales tax is paid by everybody that shops in your city versus just the ones who live in your city. So it's the will of this body, if we want to continue this conversation, if we want to endeavor to try and figure out how to go somewhere with this, if you want to, and if you don't, that's okay too.
So Hendersonville, how much did they raise theirs, or if they haven't yet, how much are they wanting
The
to
half a
raise it to?
cent is, Ms. Nichols may not know off the top of her head. I think it was a half a cent.
So what does that equal out to if you average it off of the revenue that has come into Hendersonville?
Well, I don't think it's in place for them yet. I mean, we could actually, if this is something that you guys are interested in learning more about and potentially pursuing, Ms. Nichols certainly could give us a calculation that would show us what the revenue impact would be to our budget. And then we could equate that to, property tax. Basically, you're spreading your tax. What Hendersonville did, and I don't remember the numbers at all because it's been quite some time ago, but Hendersonville said, an increase of a half a cent in sales tax would equal this on average, for a resident versus the same amount of money raised by sales tax would be this amount of increase per property owner. So, I can poke holes in that methodology, but I also can see that people do need to understand before they go voting for an increase in sales tax, that it's and I know that none of us ever wants to raise any taxes, certainly. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I like the idea of putting to a referendum and let our citizens decide. I want to push it forward and get some numbers because, again, I'm all for getting more money, and at least we let people decide. If they want it, we do it.
I think Ms. Nichols, she's posturing as if she has something to add, and so I would welcome her to the podium.
Right now, our local option sales tax generates about $15 million a year. That's what we're projecting for this year. And that is 2.25%. If we raised it the 0.5%, that would bring us up to $18 million in revenue. So approximately $3 million in revenue for the 0.5% increase.
No
Be
brainer.
compelling, isn't it?
No brainer, and everybody pay for it. So.
Well, with this body's permission, may Ms. Nichols, Ms. Hamacali, and myself work together to craft whatever it is that might need to come forward. I will consult with the mayor of Hendersonville and some other mayors that I know that have navigated this in their own city, and we will see where we get to. But I appreciate your input on that. We do need to move, not lightning fast, but we do need to be cognizant of passing 2 readings before that period of time in August. I will let.
Do you want to bring it to a work session first?
I think so. I think what I'm thinking is give us 2 weeks to come back with some more information, proposed ordinance to get it to referendum, and then we would still have time in July to have 2 readings and it'd be ready to go.
Do we need a motion?
I don't think so, because there's nothing coming to the council meeting next week. I have the direction to come back here without objection to the next work session.
No objection.
All right. Next work session. All right, item 9, paving list recommendation for the 2024-25 budget. Mr. Tuttle, our city engineer.
Good evening. You should have found in your agenda packet a recommendation from us to spend all of the money that you appropriated and then some for the paving list. So you appropriated $1.3 million for 2024, 2025. We're expecting to carry over somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000, and so that's why you see at the bottom of the sheet $1,583,000 roughly. I wanted to just make give a quick shout out to the money that you were so gracious in allowing us to spend on the road management technology software that we were able to invest in and get going. And I know there was a lot of publicity about the pothole finding software and equipment that we were using, but that's not really what it was and what it was for. What it has done is it's allowed us to really get some real-time evaluations of our roads, how they're either progressing or regressing, as you will. And here's just a real quick screenshot of what the city of Gallatin's roadway network looks like. And lots of greens, some yellows, a little bit of orange, a little bit of red. So we're not in bad shape. We're doing pretty good. I know we may have some detractors out there and arguments about their street that they drive on or a pothole that they may hit, and this does show that we are in pretty good shape and we're spending our money well. And we had some other things where we can zoom in and see really the quality of the roadways and where they are segment by segment. And so if we wanted to address specific segments, obviously we can drive out there and see a lot of these and fact check those things, but we're getting we're putting data into this AI really, and it can begin to make recommendations for us on how we can make improvements, not just resurfacing, but something that we wanted to begin to incorporate into our program, which we've done a little bit in the past, which is some other pavement preservation techniques And that's where you see Rodman Boulevard, Bay Point Drive. We're wanting to start to spend somewhere about 8 to 10% of our annual budget on preserving pavement that is not something that we're going out and just simply repaving, but we're spending a little bit of money to extend the life. And we've done a lot of research on some of these things, and we've found that one product in particular really is standing out for us, and it's this HA5 product, and I won't really go through all the details of how it works, but I thought I'd show you a picture of some streets in Mount Juliet where they began to use this product about 3 or 4 years ago. And all these roads were paved at the same time 3 or 4 years ago, but you can see some of them are really holding up better and look a lot blacker than the other ones where they're beginning to fade and showing that wear. The ones that are in black obviously are the ones with the pavement preservation that's been applied. And this particular product gives a warranty for 5 years, but they really expect 8 to 10 years of extension out of the pavement. So they're seeing roads this product be applied multiple times and just increase the lifespan of it. And so lots of good stuff, and we're hoping to incorporate that into this recommendation. You may have some other streets that you'd like for us to look at, and so if you're comfortable with us moving this list forward tonight, really all you need to do is give us the go-ahead tonight. But if you want to take this list, take a look at what we've got on the list and come back to us in 2 weeks and give us the thumbs up, that's okay with us as well. We're not going to bid next week or anything like that. So we're good if you're good to move forward right now, but if you'd like to wait a couple of weeks and take a look at things for yourself, then we're happy to do that as well.
I mean, I'm good to move it on, and then we can still look at it.
No, we don't have to, we don't vote on it.
Yeah.
We just basically.
Yeah, you've already appropriated the money, so all you're doing is putting your seal of approval on this for us to go forward and take care of it.
Who's actually looking at these and putting them in priority?
So right now, it would be Mr. Gavigan, who recently left us, our assistant city engineer, but he and his project manager, Calum Utley, who is still with us, and Calum did the lion's share of the work for us this year, working with Mr. Gavigan, who recently left. And so I went out and personally rode each of these roads with them to make sure that we felt like we were on the same page. And but obviously we get lots of input from lots of people as well. But we are using the software, and I don't know if I mentioned, it took us about half the time to be able to put this list together and prioritize the spending as it normally would. So again, the software helping us to put this list together and make decisions quicker.
I get it. I'm sure everybody up here on the council gets phone calls about roads, so
Yeah.
I have received quite a few.
Well, if you've got questions, I'll be happy to look to tell you, like you can see there are PCIs, it's a pavement condition index on the road that's listed here. I'd be happy to look at whatever street that you have a question about, tell you what the PCI is, maybe why it was chosen. There are some roads that would have made the list based on the PCI, but there are other things that are out there, like GPU's got some projects that are upcoming. We have a project on Bly Avenue that's upcoming, and so we're trying to get everything we can out of Bly and not spend a lot of dollars on it right now. And there's some other smaller streets around it that we're hoping we can get by until we get that project completed.
And one more question, I just received it on my telephone. As far as the new paving that you're talking about, the new product you're putting down, is that like a sealer, the top coat that goes on it? Is that what you're talking about?
That's the way it is applied, yes.
And so when you say you go into the road and redo something without having to pay it, you're just talking really basically sealing the road?
That's the basic way to explain it. It does more than just seal, though. It's a rejuvenator, is the way they would want to be described, because it's actually adding oils and rejuvenating that pavement so that it's giving life to it rather than just sealing it off.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're pretty confident.
I
that-
said it's worth trying.
Yes, ma'am. I think we're pretty confident it could be a good product for us.
Anyone else with questions? What do you want to do with the paving list? You want him to pop up again in 2 weeks, or you think you're good with it?
we discuss it again.
Well, it doesn't get voted on, so,
Until next week.
no, it doesn't get voted on. It's just basically you're accepting it or you're not. Councilman Gibbons?
Thank you, Mayor. Nick, just basic stuff for people who are watching. Your total list, I think it's 120,000 square yards or something like that. What percentage of the total road in the city is that, ballpark?
I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
Because for me, square yard is I can't understand that.
He's using square yardage to estimate this paving, which is pretty straightforward for what he's doing from a paving estimating standpoint, but I do not have the total amount of square yardage memorized for what we have. So I don't, if I knew that, then I would be able to, quickly run a number, but I don't know that.
So, Nick, one more question I just had pop up on my phone. The question was, is there a list that even gets longer than this, and then once this list is taken care of, then they're kind of numbered? So somebody could come and look at their road and see if they're in, okay, that's...
Yeah, we hope that we will get this done in a more cost-efficient way than what we're showing. So we could come back to you in the spring, add some other streets to the recommendation. And we're a little bit behind. Been working, we've had a lot of turnover over the past several years. So I'm working to get this list to you more like March or April. And that will put us in a much better position to begin to knock these things out in the hot months as opposed to waiting to the fall and winter time. So we're doing better than we did last year, but we still haven't quite got caught up. Not getting the RMT stuff in on time set us back some. We were delayed in getting that implemented, but there is some potential for us to come back to you in the spring, and maybe there's another $100,000, $150,000 that we could prioritize.
So do you all accept it for now, or do you want him to come back in 2 weeks and see if you accept it then?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Okay. So without objection,
If
they're
no
good with it.
objection.
They will ask you to bring it back if someone...
I think they should vote, just to vote to accept it.
Okay, Ms. Hamilton.
Just so there's no confusion.
Excuse me, motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilman Fennell. Any discussion before you vote to accept it? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. Accepted, Mr. Tuttle, thank you. Item 10 is discussion of District 2 council seat. I will let Ms. Hamakali begin by discussing how the code sets what. No, no.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Sorry, if I quit coughing, I can. I was really just trying to deflect so I could clear my throat, but I'm good. So there is ambiguity to me when you read the process that is prescribed with the vacation of a council seat. The council does appoint a temporary fill-in for that seat. It goes to the next election for that council seat, but there is some lack of clarity with what happens immediately after the election. We don't know if that council member should be seated immediately after that election, after the results are certified, or in January with the other council members. So that's kind of where we're unclear, but I think we are all clear on that it is this council's job to appoint someone to fill that seat temporarily. So with that, I want to ask you all about what you're thinking about time frame wise. Do you want it to go on to next week's council meeting? And then how do you want to ask for interest, or do you want to ask for interest, or do you just want to come with recommendations?
I mean, I think we should usually in the past, that's what we've done is, I mean, people have come up here and expressed an interest.
Publicly or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the way that I've been involved with it on the county level. That's the way I was involved with it on the county level. We had I think 1 or 2 county commissioners that passed away.
We did want to look back at what happened during the last vacation of a seat, but we've not, it was a while ago, so I think we all have different, you remember?
I mean, was it when I was appointed?
No, it would have been,
1997?
no, it was not that long ago, but I'm thinking it was, I know, I just want to say that. I think it was Councilman Camp appointed to this body before he was elected, do you recall?
Councilman Camp was appointed to the county commission at one time.
Maybe that's what I'm
And
thinking about.
he expressed his desire to pursue that, and then what we did is we interviewed him, talked with him, and then we turned around and took a vote. That's how we done it back then.
Okay. So do you want us to prepare a resolution appointing blank to Gallatin City Council District 2 seat for next week?
Does that give enough time?
I mean, if it doesn't, we can put it out till the next time, so.
A motion would be appropriate if that's the direction you wish to go.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Hayes.
I'll second that with a question.
Wait, second by Councilman Carter. I think he beat you to
I'm
it.
sorry.
You had a question?
Yes, I do. Has anybody heard of any names popping out?
Had some inquiries, but I don't know yet.
Okay.
I think people are waiting to see what the process is. Councilman Chabot.
No, thank you, Mayor. If we do it on that format, how are we going to let people know they have to come and show interest? Are we going to do
I think probably.
an ad in a newspaper or something?
I don't think we can get it in the newspaper in time for next week.
We'll use social media. We'll use this communication.
Does that person have to be in that district?
Yes.
And then I would think they also would have to abide or fit the requirements for that office. I think it's 6 months in that district before they would be eligible to be appointed.
They would have to meet all of the requirements set out in the charter.
Any other suggestions? I mean, we can put it off 2 more weeks if you think that's the right thing to do.
I mean, I think we go ahead and put it on there, and then if we don't, then we can just push it out another 2 weeks. I mean, we need to get somebody on there as soon as possible.
Are you feeling like that's okay?
Have Jeff put it on a website
Yeah,
as
we
soon
can
as
do
possible?
that. Yeah, I mean, I intend to put it on social media, and we'll put it on the website, and just to submit. You're welcome to submit interest. They can send it to me. We would encourage them to come and express their interest publicly at the next council meeting, something like that.
So you're saying once we put it out there and people show up, then during public comments, they'll come up there and say, I'm interested in this? Okay, all right.
Anyone?
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good, but if we do it on a format like that, we'll be able to ask questions to the people expressing interest?
I think you could, during the discussion of whom you actually choose. I mean, don't you think so? I mean,
All good.
motion and second, and move it forward to the next council meeting. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. That concludes. There's a lot of noise back there. That concludes the regular agenda. It brings us now to other business. So I'd ask if any member of this body does have other business, now would be the time to bring it forward. I do not have any this evening. Councilman Chabot, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I was reading the paper and I saw a notice in there that we're looking for a consulting firm to basically on all the requests were there. It's to basically supervise future projects of the city coming. So I'm still I know that I brought that several times because I was requested from head of department to have someone in-house to do that. And I was kind of surprised to see that in the papers. We're going to look outside consulting firm when we could have someone in-house do that. I think we have.
Okay, it was discussed during the budget presentation, and that we had discussed hiring an in-house person. As we kind of batted it back and forth, met a lot with Ms. Nichols and Mr. Tuttle, and we felt like that we aren't quite at the point where we can justify a full-time in-house person, so we budgeted to be able to use a consultant to oversee projects and to see if that could be a solution whereby we don't have the expense of a full-time person, and that we're better able to utilize taxpayer dollars to serve the need of overseeing projects, but maybe not full-time employee right here in the city of Gallatin. I mean, we don't have anything large enough on the imminent horizon to justify that. And we can certainly go a direction in the year ahead, but I just don't see this year being one where it would make sense to put a staff person in. But if we have a contractor that we can utilize as needed, I think it would serve the same needs. So that was the discussion related to that. Now, and I shouldn't say there was discussion amongst us, but when I presented it was just in my presentation. So I think.
I must have missed that. When I was not there when you did the budget presentation, so I missed it.
And I'm not to say that I didn't overlook it somehow. So, but I think I did. I know I mentioned that as we talked through it on some other occasions. So
Thank you, ma'am.
that's the scoop there. Anyone else? Okay. Department head reports.
Mayor and council, just wanted to bring up the point that we do need another planning commission member
I was supposed to
appointed.
bring that up. I am so sorry, Mr. Rose. Thank you. I meant to bring that up as we were discussing the appointment to fill council districts. I'm not meaning to interrupt you either, but I'm very grateful you brought that up. We also do need to appoint someone to the planning commission. Remember, that must be a member of this council. And so, are you okay, all of you, with us putting that also on next week's agenda?
You make the appointment.
No. The council appoints the council member representative on the planning commission.
Remember that now.
Yeah. So y'all good with that also being on next week's agenda?
Motion to add it.
I'm sorry?
Motion to add it in the agenda.
Motion by Councilman Jabons. Second by Councilman Carter. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right. It does pass unanimously. Thank you again, Mr. Rose. Are there any other department heads that want to share any reports tonight with the council? Seeing none, you know what the next motion is.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been a pleasure being with you all this evening. Have a good night. We'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.